Hello, I am Mrs. Erin Rausch, and I'm here to tell you this week's Sunday School Bible lesson. So to start out with, I wanted to talk to you about different modes of transportation that we have today. Things like cars and trucks, trains, airplanes are pretty much accessible by a majority of the population. Now, there's a man in our Bible story this week who had a different kind of vehicle. So they didn't have things like cars and trucks and things like that in Bible times. You were lucky enough if you had a donkey to ride, or a horse, or a wagon. Most of the time, the way people traveled was just by walking, by foot. The man in our story actually rode on a chariot, which is a significant part of our story because it gives us an idea of who this man really was. So the section we are reading today is from Acts chapter 8, verses 26 to 40. And if you would like to pause the video and go ahead and read that, come back when you're done. So, the first part of the story is an angel is talking to Philip, one of Jesus' disciples, and told him to go on the road from Jerusalem to Gaza. And on that road was a man from Ethiopia who was traveling on a chariot. Now, this man, the reason why he had a chariot was because he worked for a queen. So he had a pretty important job, and that's why he was in a chariot. Now, this Ethiopian man, he was actually coming from Jerusalem, heading back to Ethiopia. And he was reading a scroll, which was actually had the book of Isaiah. And he was reading it and trying to understand it. And the Holy Spirit talked to Philip. Now, it's really interesting because in the Bible it says, the Holy Spirit told Philip to go by the chariot. It doesn't explain why or how the Holy Spirit did that. So it was interesting. And so Philip went up to the chariot and asked the man, "Do you understand what you are reading?" And the man said, "No, how can I understand if I have no one to teach me?" So Philip was there because it's God's plan. God knew. But he was there right at the right time, and he was able to tell the man from Ethiopia all about Jesus, all about how Jesus died for his sins and came alive again. And he also was telling the man about baptism and all of the things in the Bible and that were instituted by Jesus. And as they were going along in the chariot, they saw some water. And the Ethiopian man said, "Look, here's water. Why shouldn't I be baptized?" So they went down to the water and Philip baptized the man. And immediately, as soon as the baptism was done, the Spirit of the Lord took Philip away. He disappeared from in front of the Ethiopian man's eyes. The Spirit of the Lord took Philip to another road, to another town, to tell even more people about Jesus. And what's interesting is that in the Bible, it talks about the man wasn't surprised or startled. The man went away rejoicing. He was rejoicing that he knew about Jesus and his love for him. And he went on to tell even more people about Jesus. Now, the Bible verse for us to remember from this week is actually one that's not in our reading. It's from Mark chapter 16, verse 15. And it says simply this: preach the good news. It is a calling and a blessing that has been given to everyone, which is awesome. Go and preach the good news. God bless your week.